Welcome to People Doing Good for Others, where we celebrate and praise and hold in the light those who are truly making significant differences in our community in Wilkes County. I'm Gary York, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. I want to thank Wilkes Communications, River Street Productions, and 100.9 WIFM. And again, thank you for being with us today as we're going to have a special moment as we honor Tiger Posey. He's the volunteer coordinator for communities and schools, a tremendous advocate and leader in our community. Communities and Schools has been here for 20 years, and he is a 7-year veteran. And good morning to you, friend.
Good morning.
Tell us, Tiger Posey, about your family a little bit and how you came to Wilkes County.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, Mr. York. It's a great pleasure. I grew up in Haywood County, North Carolina, which is about 30 minutes west of Asheville in western North Carolina. I am the son of educators. My mother was a middle school English teacher, language arts teacher, and my father was an elementary school principal for most of his career and then moved into administration with middle school curriculum supervision. I was born in 1977. That makes me officially 40 years old now. As far as my history, I went to Pisgah High School in Canton, North Carolina. I played sports through high school, was lucky enough to have mentors as a young person, which very fortunate to have. Not everybody gets to have great mentors. I had coaches, I had youth advisors in church and those kinds of things. So I was really surrounded by good people that taught me to give back to others, which you're celebrating today, and I thank you for that. As far as after graduating high school, I went to Western Carolina University. I was there, studied hospitality management, which is the service industry. So I've always had kind of a pull towards service. So that's kind of a little bit of history as far as where I grew up, how I grew up. I do remember being in high school, and my father was an elementary school principal at that time, and I would get off the bus and work with his latchkey program with the elementary school students. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's been always kind of a part of my life to be around youth and around the service part of life.
Tiger, tell us about being a Tiger.
So being a Tiger, I actually got the nickname before I was born. My given name is Thomas, but Tiger I've had since before I was born. There used to be an Exxon or an Esso commercial that said if you've got Exxon gas, you've got a tiger in your tank. And my mom was pregnant with me at the time, and I started kicking for the first time when the commercial was on, and she said, "Oh, I must have a tiger in my tank." So the name stuck, and it's what I've known my whole life. Yeah. So when people ask me, "What's your real name?" That is my real name. Yeah. So for all of you out there, if we ever cross paths, Tiger is my real name. That's what I go by. So, but that's how I got it. It's unique. I do a lot in my position now. I do a lot of phone calls as far as reference checks for our volunteers, and I get a lot of mixed reactions whenever I call on the phone. And there's another Tiger out there that people always ask if I'm him, and
right.
I'm not.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
7 years ago, you had the opportunity to join Communities and Schools, and let us hear about that mission statement. That when I was in your office the last time, I was just impressed with the power of that mission statement of Communities and Schools.
It really is a powerful mission, and it's one that we can accomplish, I think. Our mission at Communities and Schools is to surround students with a community of support, empowering them to stay in school and achieve in life. So we're not walking them through the process, we're not holding their hand, we're empowering them. So we're giving them the power to go ahead and do these things for themselves and to achieve in life on their own. Of course, with a support network, but we all need support as we grow up and as we go through trying times in our lives. Middle school, those middle years, the adolescence, those are tough years, and a lot of students around our community, around the state, around the country, around the world don't have a lot of community supports that they really need. So we find, I think, that if we have strong community support, helping these students get through those trying times in their life, it makes the whole community better. It makes the world a better place if we are engaged in raising our youth. It doesn't have to be our children. Anyone in our community, any child in our community is part of the community.
So my relationship with Wilkes County schools, and so your significant supplement, I guess, for the Wilkes County schools and helping children at risk. Is that a good word?
I guess they have risk factors. All children are kind of at risk at some point. Children are very resilient. We know that, but they do need the support to help them get through. And so what we do at Communities and Schools is we help knock down some of those barriers that may be a hindrance to students reaching their full potential. And so schools are stretched these days.
Yes,
budgets are being slashed. Teachers are I don't want to say overwhelmed, because they aren't. We've got great teachers, but they have a lot of things that they need to focus on. And so what we do is try to knock down some of those barriers so teachers can teach, administrators can administrate, and we are an extra support to those teachers and administrators to bring in folks, extra help to let them focus on what they need to do, and we can hopefully help with the other things, help with those social workers. Social workers are being slashed out of the budget. Counselors, school counselors. I mean, you've got social workers that are sharing 3 and 4 schools. There's a lot of students in those 3 to 4 schools that they have to look after. We have a lot of poverty in our area, and so there are a lot of things that go along with poverty that we try to help with, and so that's where we try to find ourselves and place ourselves in those gaps that may occur.
7 years ago, you were drawn to the Communities and Schools. Share with us a little bit about how that happened.
Well, 7 years ago, Communities and Schools, yes, but I think I've always been drawn to serve since an early age. I would say middle school. Well, before that, I guess, going with my father as a principal, he would make home visits and those kinds of things, and so I would go with him. I would also, in middle school, we started with Carolina Cross Connection, which is actually in Western North Carolina. It's a service opportunity for youth groups, church youth groups, to get out and serve in Western North Carolina. I think a lot of youth service programs go off to foreign countries to help and whatnot, instead of actually looking and seeing what we can do in our own backyard. And so through Carolina Cross Connection, we got involved through middle school and high school as a camper. We would go out and we'd go for a week and do service projects and in Western North Carolina, so Ashe County, Watauga County, Wilkes County. There are a lot of different camps in Western North Carolina that we would go to and do service projects. So it's always been a part of my life to serve, and then getting into the service industry as far as the restaurant business. That's what I studied in college, and worked in the service industry after college until I was, 30. I went all through the stages, started as a busboy in high school, and then worked all the way up and eventually owned my own restaurant in Ashe County. And then once we closed that restaurant, I had to kind of look and reassess, what am I going to do with, now? So I did have the opportunity to work for Smart Start first.
Okay.
I worked in their after school and evening programs. And then 7 years ago, I got the opportunity to work for Communities and Schools. It happened to be because of an accident happened to Tim Murphy, who was actually working for Communities and Schools. He was in a terrible bike wreck and ended up shattering his hip. And love you, Tim. Sorry that happened to you, but thanks for the opportunity to let me work for Glendora and Communities and Schools. But I got the opportunity to go into the high schools and teach the Wise Guys program, which is teen pregnancy prevention at the high school level, teaching health to the 9th grade students.
Well, tell us about Glendora Yarborough.
She's our executive director, and she is amazing. She cares so much for our community. When I started, we were just in Wilkes County, but she has a greater vision for Communities and Schools. We were Communities and Schools of Wilkes, then we were Communities and Schools of Wilkes and Alexander because we expanded into Alexander County, and now we're Communities and Schools of Northwest North Carolina because we have expanded into Ashe County, and now we are looking into expanding into other communities such as Allegheny and those kinds of places. So we're growing, and we could not do it without Glendora. She is a true leader. She wants us to lead. She wants us to be great leaders, so she fosters that, and she really sees the potential for communities and schools and sees the need of school systems and our communities to really get involved in the school system.
She's a hands-on leader. When I've called over there, she answers the phone.
She's there.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. I mean, she leads by example, that is for sure.
And funding, how do we, different avenues of bringing money in to do communities and schools?
Well, Communities and Schools, we are a nonprofit. We 501c3. We are a United Way agency. So there are funds through people that give to United Way. Thank you very much for giving to United Way. We do receive funds from them. We also do a lot of work writing grants.
Yes.
Federal grants, state grants, those kinds of things, private grants, corporate grants. We do a lot to seek those out. We have a resource development director, Caitlin Pitkin, who seeks out opportunities to find money so that we can continue to grow and help and provide programs that serve our students in our communities.
You talked about trust, that a gift that we must have that in relationships. You want to expand on that for me?
Well, for the basis of any relationship, a good relationship is going to be trust. I think that if you're in schools and working with young folks, you have to have a certain level of trust, not only with the school system to allow them to come into the schools and work with your students, you also have to gain the trust of parents, because without parents, if they say, no, I don't want my child involved with your program, you're not able to help that student get through whatever they need. So you really have to build trust with the family, with the schools, with our community. If you don't have the trust of the community that you're going to do what you say you're going to do and how you're going to do it, word starts to get out that you're not necessarily doing what you say you're going to do, and funds start to dry up. The volunteer pool starts to dry up. So you really have to have trust from your community organizers, business leaders to say, we are going to do what we're going to do, how we say we're going to do it, and follow through. You've got to follow through with whatever you say you're going to do.
Tiger Posey, what the role of the volunteer coordinator?
Sure. I don't necessarily coordinate. I recruit, yes. I recruit, so my role is to find all those great folks out there that are watching your show, that are listening to our message, that find our website. My job is to recruit those folks and bring them into our fold through Communities and Schools, and move them into play, listen to what they have to say, where their schedules are, what time commitment do they have, what interest level do they have, why do they want to volunteer, what do they see that they want to get out of volunteering, because all of us have our different reasons for doing things. So my job as a recruiter is to find the reason behind why they want to do what they want to do.
So the opportunity is available every day for folks who want to matter in your program. How do they find
any
you,
day.
Tiger?
They can find me at Communities and Schools, our website, which is cisnwnc.org. They can call me on my office number, which is 336-903-4894. We are out there, and we are in, we're in every elementary school with programs here in this community in Wilkes County. We are in middle schools. We are in high schools. We are everywhere. So whatever age group you might feel comfortable working with, we can find a place for you. Okay. Not everybody's comfortable working one-on-one.
Name some of those opportunities for us.
Gosh. So, sure, we've got Lunch Buddies.
Lunch Buddies.
Huge.
Is that the most
great
popular
program? It is a very, very, very popular program, probably our most popular, and probably the easiest way to get involved, mentoring a student. That is where you go and you have lunch once a week with an elementary school student. You're paired up, matched up with that student for the school year, and you go have lunch one day a week with them, according to your schedule. Doesn't have to be the same day every week, but you go and you just have lunch. You check in on that student, say, how you doing? How are things going?
And they're trained to do that.
Yes, sir. We don't let anybody go into the school without being trained, without their comfort level being where they see that they need to be, to go into the school. So
and you have a screening process. So everybody
absolutely. We do background checks. We do reference checks. We do the training. Our Friends of Youth program is another mentoring program that is one-on-one relationships, usually with a student, 4th grade or above, and that is 2 to 3 hours outside of the school setting. So, the training on that, the background checks and reference checks on that are a little bit more intense. And so you're spending one-on-one time, or we've got couples that do it, that mentor a student. But you are another stronger advocate for that student. You're spending more time with that student outside of school, kind of doing normal everyday activities, but you're showing them another way. And then we've got
Stuff the Bus, is that one of them?
Stuff the Bus is one of our programs, and it's been around for a long time, and that is actually where we collect school supplies before the school year, and we've got a lot of partners. Walmart is a huge partner with that, and churches, local churches, they collect stuff, and so what we do is we collect everything, and then we distribute all those items to school counselors. So we've got a magic formula where we determine how many students are there in the school, what supplies they may need, those kinds of things. And 2 days before school starts, we have school counselors, principals come and pick up those school supplies. And they are available for students there at school. So if a counselor sees a student who needs a book bag or needs notebooks or pencils, they're there. They've got what they need, and so we've got a lot of great folks to partner with us with that to help make sure that no student doesn't have what they need.
So you also partner with Belinda Marino in a significant program.
Yes, she Girls on the Run. She really helped us bring that into Wilkes County. We started at Moravian Falls with that program. When I started as a site coordinator there, we realized that a lot of our students didn't have extracurricular activities to do, and so I grew up as a runner. I've been running since I was 2 years old. My dad ran marathons, and that's probably one of the greatest gifts I've gotten from my father, is the gift of running and the joy of running. I find that I personally work out a lot of issues just pounding it out on the pavement, So that gift to young students, being able to get out there and work through a curriculum, Girls on the Run and Let Me Run, which is the boys program. They each have curriculums where they go through and we work on positive relationships, we work on anger management, we do, the girls is a 12-week curriculum, they meet twice a week. Boys is a 7-week curriculum, they meet twice a week. And so they work through lessons, and then they're working on a training program for a 5K. So each of these programs, they run a 5K at the end of the season, and it's just a great time for them to really accomplish something, but then they're also learning lessons as well. And she is Teacher of the Year with a huge impact in bringing that and keeping it there at the school. She's coached for I don't know how many years. We've also got coaches at North Wilkesboro Elementary School. Amber Fall has been a huge help there, keeping that program there and keeping it running. We write grants for that. The Health Foundation has been huge. Thank you, Health Foundation. They have been a huge factor because these programs aren't free. And so with our students, any programs that communities and schools offer, we offer free of cost to our students. So we have to find partners. And so we've written grants to the Health Foundation to help fund these two programs in the schools where we are, and to expand them into other places. So through those grants, we've been able to expand Let Me Run into Trap Hill Elementary School, and also Girls on the Run to C.C. Wright Elementary School. So they paid full tuition costs for these students, which is a big deal, because these students might not otherwise be able to afford the program, but with our connections, working together with our partners, we're able to make a huge difference and get 12, 15 girls out there, or boys that may not have been able to participate.
You also do in-house fundraising, like chicken queues.
Sure.
Let's go back to Ms. Pipkin, and I'll never will forget the conversation one day when she said that she really enjoys raising money.
It takes a rare person to want to get out there and ask people for money. It can be a very uncomfortable thing to do, and you have to be ready for that rejection. So it takes a special person to be willing to go out there and say, I want to raise money, and I believe in what I'm raising money for. I think that's the most important thing. You have to believe what you're doing is worthy of what you're asking.
And Tim Adams comes in and helps with the chicken queue.
Helps with the chicken queue. He's been on our board, and he is a great asset for us.
He's an incredible asset.
Yeah, he likes to. He'd probably be upset that we even mentioned his name. He's one of those folks that just does things out of the goodness and kindness of his heart in a quiet way, and he really wants to make a difference, and he does it quietly, and he does make a difference. And so he and all his buddies do our chicken queues for us. They're out there at 4 o'clock in the morning or whenever they start, and they put the time in, and so he's a huge asset for us. We do 2 chicken queues a year, so one in the fall and one in the spring. So that's a huge part of what we do. We have a food booth at Merlefest.
Yes.
So we're at Merlefest every year. So we're booth number 1, right when you walk in, come in and see us if you're out at Merlefest. But we're there. We've also got, for our New Century Scholar program, we've got a road race.
Share that.
New Century Scholars?
Yep.
Oh, it's a wonderful program. We give about 24, I guess there's 24 scholarships a year that we give to 6th grade students. So these are 6th grade students that show potential, that are first-generation college students. Teachers refer these students to the program. They are inducted into the program, so they're given this scholarship in 6th grade. And then they are followed 6th through 12th grade by Melissa Higgins, who is our New Century Scholars coordinator, and she follows each student, makes sure that their grades are up, makes sure that their service hours, we require service hours for these students so that they're giving back to the community. They They help with all kinds of things, programs, not just with communities and schools, but with National, Park Service Day. They go out and do things. They help with Special Olympics during their service times.
So you help with Special Olympics?
I do,
your
and
kids
so
do?
these students also do as well.
Wow.
Yeah, we put that's on the service calendar as well. They came out and helped with, some of them came out and helped with the bocce tournament that we had in the fall. So it's really about giving back. So these students, they're given the scholarship to Wilkes Community College, all right? So there's an opportunity for them to go and get at least a 2-year degree, associate's degree after high school. A lot of these students, with the guidance of Melissa and with having that person in their life, they are able to go on and maybe go into a 4-year school. Maybe they don't use that 2-year scholarship, but they go into a 4-year school.
So you work with the Arts Council too?
We work with the Arts Council. We have a lot of partners in the community that works with. The Arts Council helps us with our summer arts program. We write a grant to them, and we have a program out in Country Square, the trailer park there on 1618. We've got a community learning center there called, the students call it La Escuelita, which is Spanish for the little school. And we've got a program there called Homework Haven, which is where we use this arts grant in the summer, and we expose them to the arts.
Senior projects too?
Senior projects. We've got a lot of students who use senior projects there at Homework Haven or with our running program. So we've got it's a great opportunity for any high school student that is looking to do their senior project. We can help find a place for them working with us. And they get the credit, they get the exposure, they get the experience of working and giving their time to someone else. So senior projects are huge for us too, as far as volunteers.
So Tiger Posey, we are significantly today recruiting volunteers.
Sure, if that's what we're using this for, that'd be great.
We also would encourage folks who might want to get involved in helping us fund these programs.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank River Street Productions and Wilkes Communications and WIFM. And I'd like for you to close with the legacy, as you see the legacy of communities and schools, the outreach, the importance of it as we kind of wind down.
Sure. The legacy, as far as if we're jumping a time machine and go 20 years, what I would hope the legacy of community schools would be engagement and involvement. I think that the strength of any community is how you bring up your children, the future generations. So looking back, if we're 20 years in the future, I would hope to see that the students that we have helped bring through and help fill in the gaps would go, get an education. Stay in school, finish high school, number one. You've got to do that. Number two, go on to a higher education. Number three, come back to your community and give, get back involved. I would hope that our legacy would include the growth that we have experienced over the past 7 years since I've been involved. We've gone into 2 other communities, and that's brought us into 5, 6, 7, 8 new schools at least, just in those communities. So that just serving those students and families, because you can reach the student, but if you don't have the families on board, you really kind of just. Yeah. I don't know what the term would be. We're going to cut that out.
That great mission statement again. Let's do that again.
Communities and schools, our mission is to surround students with a community of support, empowering them to stay in school and achieve in life. So you've got to surround those students. The community is very important in that, and empowering is huge, because if you've got to teach them how to do it for themselves. You've got to empower folks to say, this is how you do it. Let's learn how to do it. Let's do it for yourself. We want to teach you. What is it? You can teach a man to fish. So that's what we want to do. We want to become fishers of these students and these families, so that they can go out and teach others and just grow a strong community.
Thank you very much. Tiger Posey, Communities and Schools, a 7-year veteran, a person who's asking us to get involved. And let's do that today in a special way. So from Wilkes Communications and River Street, thank you for being with us this evening. And Tiger Posey is such a tremendous advocate who's grateful for this opportunity to give, to share, and to care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Come again.
Thank you.
Thank you.